Assalamualaikum. Welcome to Tricolour podcast today. I'm Zamara Batul. I've been working with it, Tricolour, for past 2 years. Today, our guest is Mr. Tausif Abdul. Assalamualaikum, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much, Zamara. First of all, I'd like to recognize podcast with employee number 1. So you were the first employee that we hired here in Pakistan. So how are you today?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
You know, today's our topic is employment in Pakistan. So we would like to know your work experience, as we know that you have more than 18 years plus experience in UK, Pakistan. So what difference you find here and in UK?
So I think there's loads of differences of employment and working practices in the UK compared to Pakistan. If we talk about toxic environments, I think you could say I was blessed because everything's learning, isn't it? And I did work in a couple of toxic environments, and I've been a leader and managed people for quite a long time. I hope nobody says that I created a toxic environment. But I think a UK toxic environment is an environment where somebody's not being recognized, or there's just that very them and us between management and employees. And what I used to imagine a toxic environment in the UK, and then when I've come to Pakistan and I've seen or I've heard of toxic environments, they're polar apart. And it gives a new definition to the term toxic environments. And obviously we've done a lot of hiring in Pakistan, and I've done a lot of interviews here. And some of the horror stories you hear of people with previous employers or with employers that they're still unfortunately working with. You know, some of the stories that you hear where, they've not been getting paid salaries for a number of months. Or I even heard one example of where somebody got beat up because he was asking for the amount of money that he was owed. And thankfully, you wouldn't get that in the UK. And I think, unfortunately, in Pakistan, you do hear some absolutely horrible stories. And I've heard of people commuting 1.5 hours to get to their workplace. And when you strip all the fuel costs down and you look at how much money someone's actually making and how much they're taking home, it's quite shocking and it's embarrassing. I was really sad to hear some of the stories that people go through here from a workplace point of view, and from an engagement and culture point of view is as I say, absolutely shocking.
So you would say that the work environment in Pakistan is horrible, and even the bosses over here are quite toxic.
Yeah, I think the typical, there's a boss and he comes in at the same time as you, and he'll sit and he'll eat with you, and he'll just have a general conversation, and he'll ask about your well-being and make sure that you're okay, and ask about family. That's something really alien here in Pakistan. And in Pakistan, it's an unwritten rule that there has to be a them and us.
That's true. When I was working here in a bank, I was in a banking sector before, and I remember when my branch manager used to walk in, we were standing. Stand up, everyone. The branch manager walked in, so we had to give him that sort of a special respect. He never used to come up to us and ask how's your day going on or something like that.
Yeah.
So there is always a distance between employee and an employer.
Yeah.
What I have learned over here in Pakistan, there is always a distance. Like boss is something, king, he's a king, and you are only the
peasant.
Yes. So there's always, but working here on Tricolour, I haven't seen this thing.
Wow. And I think for me, it's not. These aren't my ideas. Thankfully I was able to work in a really big business, and we'd have CEO and presidents, and I'm talking about a business that employed 8,000 people. And we were across all of Europe and across the UK as well, and we'd have bosses coming in and they'd sit with you, and we'd go for a sandwich, or they'd have a general conversation with you, and after a while they might send you a message, how you doing, you okay? So I think we saw that kind of informality between bosses and employees, and for me it's really important to have that. And I always say there's a big difference between a good leader and a bad leader. You know, a bad leader says, you go over there. And a good leader says, actually, I'm going over there. Why don't you come along with me? And it's about the journey, isn't it? Ultimately, our destination's 6 feet under, which is a little bit grim. But it's about how we get there and what we do along the way and how we impact people within our working life as well as our personal life as well. And that's super important, because if I don't treat you right, and in the morning you get up and you think, oh, I've got to go to work.
Yeah.
How productive are you really going to be?
No, Sundays should not be miserable. Mondays should not be miserable.
Yeah.
Sunday, we should not regret that Sunday finished.
Yeah.
And being a new entrepreneur in this Pakistan community, Pakistan society, what do you think? Like, are you like more local Pakistani companies? Are you running a same company over here? Or you think you are making a difference? And what sort of, like, you must be going out, you must be meeting the old businessmen, all people out here. What sort of feedback they give you while when you try to tell them your culture?
Yeah. So one of the most simplest and to our UK viewers, it'll sound really alien, but in Pakistan there's a culture in every single office. You have known as something which is known as an office boy.
Yes.
Yeah. So an office helper, and an office helper will go make you or you or anybody else working here. They'll go make them a cup of tea and they'll get them a glass of water,
Exactly.
and they'll then clean up and everything like that. And since day one, as you all know, we've never had an office boy.
No.
And we've always said, well, if you're going to drink a cup of tea, you make it yourself, and if you're going to wash the mug, it's your responsibility. You want some water, you get up and you go do it yourself. And I think it's things like that where, and we've had it, where we've had new employees start and they're like, what? You don't have an office boy? And for me, it's about, actually, if we do these things ourselves, then we all have a sense of ownership and we have a sense of belonging. And it's little things like that that we would do. I mean, as an example, you know that every month we'll sit down, we'll do a monthly review, and we'll look at your personal development plan, and I'll often give you feedback, and I'll say to you, right, okay, Zamara, these are the things that you could improve on. Is delivered in a way that you receive it and you're willing to then go away and do something about that. But is that going to happen in Pakistan, where a manager, I don't care how much experience that manager's got, but typically here in Pakistan, they're not going to have monthly reviews, they're not going to have personal development plans, they're not bothered about developing you. Because ultimately, if they develop you, you're just going to end up leaving and go work somewhere else.
My son, he's also working in a UK-based company, and the management is well settled here, and they are having a lot of experience. Still, their culture is not as UK-based company culture.
Yeah.
They are having office boy, they are going to come in and the office boy is going to serve them tea or something like that. So what I have observed while living here, like you know that after 8 years I came back from UAE, and over there the work culture was completely different. And when I joined you, I was the first one to walk in, and I think so only one question I asked you. Other than that, I didn't ask you anything, where I'm going to pray.
Yeah.
And from that day till now, what is being promised and what we are seeing, the culture of this company, and I think so I'm really blessed. In UAE, what I learned, like the company, the work in, I have learned a lot over there. It's not that I have not learned anything, but the way of teaching was so horrible, you can't even imagine. I could have got any call at any time of the day. After my working hours, there was no life balance.
Yeah.
And I used to get call at 12 o'clock at night. Have you done this thing? Have you done that? Oh my God, I have submitted you the report. You need to go through that. You don't need to call me. But my boss never used to go through the reports and anything like that. So when I came back in Pakistan and I joined this company, I found the difference between a good management and a bad management. So when I was working there for 8 years, I could not identify what is a good manager. I thought, no, he's grooming me. He's trying to teach me everything.
Tough love.
Tough love. Trust me, back at the back end of my mind, I used to think that, no, he's teaching me. He's telling me everything. But the way, he could have taught me in a better way. Over here, I have learned how to develop myself, how to look into different things, read books, and read good books. I used to read books, but I used to be more fictional sort of thing, non-fictional less. So into that I came into this thing, and what do you think? Companies should more work on well-being or physical of any employee or something like that?
So I think if you were to say to me, what's the one thing that we do well here, and hopefully when I say it, you'll agree with me. And the one thing that makes the biggest difference, I feel, is listening. You've got to listen to your team, and you've got to understand what are they telling you. And I think that's something that we do really well here. And I think sometimes we do it too much. Like we have our monthly team event. Yeah. And sometimes the toing and froing, it frustrates me. I'm like, come on, just decide, where are we going, what are we going to do? And I think it's important to listen to everyone's opinion. It's important to value everyone's opinion. But then ultimately what you've got to do is you've got to make that decision, and you've got to make sure that you've catered to as many people as you can, because you can't cater to everybody. And if I think back to the blue chip company that I worked for in the UK, one of my worst bosses that I had, he never listened. He did not listen. And there was a lot of I in his conversation. Everything was I. And I remember we'd deliver, and we'd deliver great performance. And what would happen is he'd be stood in front of, the division, or he'd be stood in front of the senior leadership team. And he would always describe it as, I've done this, I've done this, my territory. Oh, I'm kind of giving away that. We're going to have to edit that bit out, actually, right? But he would always claim the victory for himself. I've done this, and I feel that's one of the biggest problems. I think when you can allocate things to your team, if there's something great happened here now, and you've assisted me in it, and I say, thank you very much to Zamara, and I speak to a few other people and I say, oh, Zamara has absolutely made a difference here, and she's helped us deliver this. It doesn't make that much of a difference to me, does it? Yeah. Because ultimately, what shouldn't happen?
Appreciation. So you're trying to say that what the employees are doing, they do not appreciate.
Yeah.
The appreciation of any employees, their recognition, even I think so. If the employees feel recognized, appreciated, they are more towards productivity. They are more towards making a difference. They are going to make a difference in their work.
Yeah, look, ultimately, we can say that here in Pakistan, unemployment rates very high, especially in the rural areas. But even if we look in the cities, in the towns, unemployment rate is really high. So you could argue that when somebody's just got a job, they should appreciate it and everything like that. But in reality, you've still got to have some of these soft measures. I was speaking to somebody not too long ago, and they said to me, that I was showing off. I was saying, actually, our staff attrition is really low. Our labour turnover is not very high. People tend to not leave. They like to get the development and all this kind of stuff. And this person turned around to me and said to me, no, people stay because you pay them well. Because I'd like to think, and I know it's a fact as well, we pay above whatever the average industry standard is in Pakistan. So we always feel that when you pay better, then money's taken off the table, and there's a better chance of that person staying and developing and delivering great work. And he said to me, that's why they stay, because you're paying them well. And I said, no, I don't think so. I think it's also very important on how you treat people, because I think money only is a partial influencer towards how happy you are and where you want to work and your employee satisfaction. I don't know what your feelings are on that. I don't know, maybe, well, I do know actually. You've already had the conversation with me before. Money's not everything.
Yes.
And money's important. We need to pay bills. We've got to provide for our families. But ultimately, it's about job satisfaction. It's about having personal satisfaction as well, of knowing that you've done great work.
That is also very important. Some people are triggered by money. Some people are triggered by personal development. It totally depends on person to person. But I would like to add one thing over here, that in Pakistan, as the inflation is going continuous, there is a continuous increase in inflation. So the money factor over here in Pakistan is one of the biggest thing. And if I look around and I look different surveys and different articles I have gone through, and the top 10 paid professions in Pakistan, our service sector is not in that.
Yeah.
So yes, salary is one of the part. The employees stick to a company. Second, I think so is our culture, the autonomy that we have. We are not having any line managers standing over our shoulder and look at how we are working and what we are working. So in 8.5 hours, I have never seen you coming in, barging in and saying, what you have done, how much work has been done, nothing like that.
Who knows, it might get us more efficiency if I did do that.
You might lose more employees. So depending how.
But and I know we often talk about the Daniel Pink methodology of autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And ultimately, it's, for me, them three things should be the absolute pillar of every single organization. If we give you autonomy and we just set you some clear direction, we say, right, this is the work and we want you to do better than this, and we're going to give you autonomy, and it's okay to be behind for a day. Everybody has a bad day. You might not have slept properly, you might not be feeling well, etc., etc. And it's okay to be behind for a day, but you shouldn't be behind for a week. So it's important that you catch up, but that's that level of autonomy. But then we're hoping that you're going to do something even better. Then it's important that you focus on mastery, get really good at what you do, and that's around giving feedback and making sure that you improve as an individual all the time. And the third thing is around having a purpose. And if we can deliver them three things and we listen and we ask our employees how they are and how they're not, then I feel that kind of is a really good basis for delivering great performance. Now, don't get me wrong, can everyone do that? Probably not, because they might not have the level of expertise. Like these companies in Pakistan that have a real toxic environment, I don't think they're doing that intentionally. That's based on their capabilities. They've just not got the capability, and that's how they've always known it. So therefore, that's how they'll always continue it. In Pakistan, there's a very, even within our political system, the way that our army kind of controls the country as well, there's a real them and us. And whenever possible, we're always trying to create a them and us here as well. May it be the boss and the employees, may it be the higher authorities, the general or the colonel. How many generals do we know here? How many colonels? Loads.
Yes.
I don't know a single army person in the UK, and I've lived there for over 40 years. But what I'm saying is here, there's always them distinctive them and us, and I think that you find anywhere, may it be in a school, in a college, in a business, in a personal environment. We love to create them differences, and that's something that we don't do here. And
this is I would like to comment, though it's not related to our topic, but now what you have said, that army person and a civilian. I remember I started in army public school, and a fee challan of a colonel, journal, a major's daughter was like half of my father was civilian, though he was a government servant, but he was in civilian, he was not in army, and I used to pay triple times more what they were paying.
Yeah, I think these are some of the other problems of Pakistan, isn't it? And this could be a whole different podcast in itself. And what we've got to realize, though, is that this is the environment we're in. And I often say that when we walk in this building, then this is an extension of the UK. We're not in Pakistan. And when we're in here, we speak English, and everything that we do should be based on a British, more what we're going to say, a more developed system.
Yes.
And that's the key thing. It's more developed. The UK's had a lot longer to develop these kind of theories. Just thinking about it, you have a master's in economics, and Pakistan doesn't have even one senior economist who advises the government.
No, there is none.
There's none. Right?
There's
zero.
None. So whoever is going to come on that post, that won't be an economist.
Yeah, probably won't even be an economist.
Yes, he won't be an economist.
And he's probably someone's cousin or brother or whatever else. And
this is the problem. Even there are so many companies here in Pakistan. in which employees have not seen their real bosses.
Yeah.
The line managers, the supervisors, they are the only head, and they are treating so bad, in such a bad way, creating a toxic environment, creating, snubbing the talent over here.
Yeah.
One thing more, what do you think, being here in Pakistan, and because of this toxic environment, employees are also taking good companies for granted? Like, like in UAE, we cannot leave a job on a short notice or something like that. We have to give a proper notice period, and we have to work there, whether you are sick or whether you are whatsoever. Like, no lame excuses could be accepted. But what do you think, in Pakistan, because of these small, being a good company, being a good cultured company, are you facing such things from the employees that creating a hitch?
I think obviously we've now been operating for 2 years here in Pakistan, and we've definitely had learnings. And if we think about it, there's the book Netflix, No Rules Rules, and
Yes.
I think at the beginning my principle was, actually we're not going to have that many rules, and we're just going to make sure we always do the right thing, and we always do the best, and etc. etc. And then what happened is then we started getting a little bit of deviation from what's right. So what did we have to do? We had to start creating some rules, and then we had to create some more rules. And I think I was being a little bit naive back then by thinking, actually, we'll just run it where everyone's just going to do the right thing, and no one's going to abuse anything, and no one's going to take advantage of anything. But I think it's about finding the right balance of understanding that you have freedom, but there's a set of guidelines that you've got to operate within. And that covers everything from holidays to lateness to how people are performing. And it's important that we stick within them guidelines, because ultimately we are a business, we have clients, we're answerable
Yes.
to them, and we've got to make a difference. Because if they're paying for a service and we're not providing that, then that's not us being fair to them as well.
Autonomy is good, but accountability is best. So I think so there should be some accountability, whether we are operating here with a UK based culture. But sometimes what happens is, giving autonomy in the workspace is good, but there should be some set rules that we are now following in our trickle up.
Yeah, I think the thing is though is, you know, every single person here has got an undergraduate degree. There's so many people who've got a master's. We're dealing with intelligent, clever people, and we're dealing with people who know multiple languages, who have a real good grasp of the English language, who are computer proficient, and they've got a specific field that they're an expert in as well. And I feel when you give them kind of people autonomy, then they're going to thrive in that environment. However, if you're in the UK and you've got someone who's on a minimum wage and they're getting paid £11.44 an hour, and you give that person autonomy, they're going to drown because they don't know what to do with it. And the best they're going to be able to do is just be able to follow an instruction. They're constantly waiting for the task. I often say that it's not about delegating task, it's about delegating responsibility. If you delegate responsibility, then now what's going to happen is someone's going to grow to the size of the task, of actually what needs to be done. And that's super important, but you can do that here in Pakistan. I don't think you can do that as much in the UK. You've got to be a little bit more, right, do this, now do this, now do this. And it's got to be very regimented, and it's got to be very methodical as well. Whereas I feel I'm really blessed. You know, I've got a really good team. I can just turn around to people and say, this needs to be done, and they'll go away and do it. And I don't need to know the detail of how, where, what, when. And all I know is that the end result will be achieved because ultimately we've got capable people.
That's one of the, I think, the best part of trickle up as well.
Yeah, that is definitely it. Listen, our team is what makes us.
Yes.
I don't, listen, I'll have had an influence on it, but that's all I am. I'm an influencer, or I'm a direction giver. This is the direction that we're moving in. However, I feel that each and every individual working here, they're the ones that make the difference. They're the ones that produce the work. They're the ones that make trickle up what trickle up is. And I often talk about the glue that holds everything together, but when we say holds everything together, what is that everything? And that is each individual person that works here.
Yes, that's true. So what would you like to give any tips to the employees how to change the work environment and be more focused on employees well-being, giving some opportunities to them? So would you like to give some tips to them?
If I was to give 3 top tips in regards to how to improve employee engagement, reduce attrition, and improve efficiency here in Pakistan, I feel companies should first of all ask questions from their colleagues and ask them what do they feel, and ask for their opinion. Once they've got their opinion, then make sure that you're listening to that, and then that doesn't mean you're going to do everything that your employees are going to say. However, it does mean that you're going to value their opinion, and you'll then obviously, it's a form of consultation. So you'll consult with your employees. So that's the first one. I feel the second one is not be that whole overbearing, what you're doing now, what you're going to do tomorrow, and really getting into that. It's about giving people an element of freedom. Let them get on with it, and let them be in a position where they can actually amaze you. If I tell you only do X, Y, and Z, then at the end of the day, that's all you're going to do. I'm not really going to be impressed. But if I say to you, Zamara, I want you to go away and do some work, and the minimum I want you to do is probably X and Y, then what will happen is there's probably a chance that you're going to do a lot more than that. And I think the third thing is that as a leader, you've not got to get into the he said, she said, and all of,
blame game.
Yeah, blame game and all this kind of stuff. And I think it's about sometimes accepting where actually as a leader, I'll be wrong. I can think of a few examples here in the office where I've actually gone and apologized to someone because I got the wrong end of the stick. And what that shows me as a leader showing vulnerability. And if I'm showing vulnerability, then that then demonstrates that actually we're in this together. And again, it's about moving away from the them and us situation and actually combining it to the fact that we're an actual team.
In 14 years of my career, I have said you're wrong here several times. You have given us this liberty to come to your face and say you're wrong here. You need to see that, you need to look into this, or you need to change this decision or something like that. Whatsoever, I don't remember the exact scenario when I told you you're wrong here. But I remember I told you, sir, you're wrong here. You need to look this thing into again and again. So I have not seen in my 14 years career, I could go up to my boss and say, no, you're wrong. I have to always say, yes, sir, I'm going to do it. Oh, you can't even imagine. In UAE, it was horrible. My boss used to dictate whole letter to me, and I used to do as what he has told me to do. I'm going to print that paper again and go to him. Again, he's going to take out mistakes several times. Like one letter I used to print 50 times to get it done okay. And it was all his words, not my words. And by the end of the day, but what it taught me one thing, after 6 years, 7, 8 years, then I know what exactly he wants.
Yeah. I used to have a boss in the UK, and probably he's still a mentor of mine, and he was probably my best boss that I've ever had. And I remember one time he was sending me somewhere to go and shadow someone, and he said go there and go learn from him. And I said, that person's not even that good. I know he's not good. And we were in a sales environment, and I said, I've seen his numbers are not that good. Why am I going to go there? What am I going to learn from that person? And my boss just turned around to me and very calmly said, how not to do things. And I thought, he's so right. He's made such a valid point here. It's all good understanding how to do things. And I think you only truly appreciate things when you see it happening in the bad form. And when you see it in the bad form, then you think to yourself, actually, hold on, that is right. And there is no other better way of doing something. We always say, don't we? I hate the saying when we say, people say, there's always room for improvement. Well, of course there is. There's always room for improvement.
Exactly.
You don't need to state that to me. Yeah. You need to deliver something that makes me go, wow. The amount of times I constantly challenge our marketing team and I say to them, is this going to make me say, wow? And if it's not, go back. Go back and do it again. And actually get it to the point where we're sat there and we're going, wow, that is absolutely amazing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tawseef. I'm really delighted to have you on this podcast. I hope this conversation, the people are going to get the best out of it. And if you like our podcast, do like, subscribe. Thank you.